Yo, you're listening to Everyday Superpower, the place where we talk about body language, we talk about relationships, attraction, repulsion, human dynamics, game, everything in between, okay? Two links down in the description of this video. One of them takes you to the catalogue of body language. It's a YouTube playlist I compiled of my own material. It'll teach you how to read people through their own subconscious behaviours in real time. It'll essentially teach you how to read the minds of others. Separate to that, there is a link to the Patreon as to where you will join me in observing real life first dates. We'll be able to assess attraction cues, repulsion cues, and everything in between. You'll be able to apply that into your real life, see that manifest in the world around you. Now, let's have a conversation. Topic of this one is going to be in regards to what turns a girl off, yes? And the be all and end all is that it is individualized. There is some hardwiring, there is some elements rooted in the psyche of each and every person. Some of it being globalized, some of it being independent to the person you're speaking to. But the point I'm trying to get across is that I can't tell you what will turn a girl off, but they will tell you, okay? So when you engage in conversation with a woman, over a period of time, listen to them closely when they express some degree of disgust at the behaviour of other men. Now, this will have a knock-on effect, right? Because like I said, some of it will be across the board. There'll be some particular behaviours that men, express that turn off girl as a whole, turn off women as a whole, because it's contrary to the masculine. Whereas there will be some behaviours that really turn one particular girl off, but don't necessarily bother another girl, okay? Something that has come to popularity as of recent, which is incredibly interesting, is the idea of an ick. Have you ever heard of that? So, an ick is a peculiar and particular action or behaviour or circumstance a man is involved in that turns a girl off. And these things, if you're not aware of this, search it, Google search it, list of icks for women or something like that. And these things are humorous. They're humorous because they seem so petty. But then when you put the microscope upon them and you apply them to the concept of whether they be anti-survival or replication, if they be anti the concept as to whether this would assist the person survive or assist the person replicate through health or through social value or through this, that and the third, a lot of them will make sense. Someone said an incredibly niche one, says, a nick for me is if he gets hit by a slowly moving car. That sounds so random, doesn't it? It sounds so random, and it's funny, and it's like, what are you on about, right? But obviously she's had some experience seeing a guy get hit by a very slowly moving car. And she's thought, something inside of her, her biological mechanism has triggered a disgust response, a repulsion response. And then when you look a little deeper, you think, well, if you're getting hit by a slow car, how the hell are you going to save yourself when something actually harmful, something dangerous gets put in your way? How are you going to survive? You're not good breeding material. Because you're not going to be able to survive in this world, or at least you've showcased a lack of conscious awareness, which I deem inappropriate for procreation. I mean, she's not going to perceive it in that way, but to put a long story short, she says, ick, that's a turn off, right? So from the outside looking in, it's ridiculous, but when you look under the layers, you find good meaning, yeah? So I can't tell you what will turn a girl off because I am not a girl. I do not have the brain of a girl. You can look through the information I provide, and we can talk, okay? We can talk, but only a girl is going to tell you, and you are going to know how serious she is being when she speaks of such, because you'll be able to assess her body language, her tone of voice, the severity as to which she is saying, you know? When you get to know a girl and break into depth of conversation and communication with a woman, and she feels safe to talk to you about things, it's interesting. I mean, this is what a player will do. Well, not a player. This is what a womanizer will do. Someone who is good with women. Not a player, because we don't play, we don't use. We enjoy making women happy, and that in response makes us happy. We're magnetic people. We're fantastic men. Alright, some gentlemen out there, no doubt. Us, and I only say womanizer, there's negative connotations to womanizer, but I get called this. I get called this. So I know the ins and outs of that word, trust me, it's not necessarily a bad thing. You know what I mean? The women who've called me a womanizer are completely fine with me being that. But you create great conversation with the women you are interested in by asking them for, in genuine interest, their point of view when it comes to what they find attractive, who they find attractive. Your general man will ask that out of insecurity to see who he should portray himself as. But we ask it out of interest, because this is important information and interest. It should be, if you're on this channel talking to me on these topics, it should be interesting information, right? So when you delve into conversation, at some point ask them. If it gets brought up briefly in conversation, just like, oh, I can't stand it when they do that, just say, why is that? What, so across the board, if somebody does that, you find that unattractive, why is that? And let them talk, hear them out. That's interesting conversation, you know? So, I say that to say this. When it comes to understanding the mind of a woman, although the messages might be mixed in verbal communication, you can always ask. And you can always hang around with women to the degree where your answers are there, because you have spent and acknowledged and understood the feminine at that particular moment in time. The non-verbal doesn't lie, so when you watch real life reactions and communications through the unspoken, through the subconscious behaviour, you'll start to recognise patterns in response to interactions the woman will have with other people. And then the next woman will have with other people, next woman will have with other people. I was speaking to a friend of mine. Well, I was speaking to a couple of friends actually. We're talking about arguing with significant others, and a third party joined, and we were talking about getting into arguments. What's the best way we're dealing with it when always arguing? And the third party says, oh, just apologise, always apologise. And that's ridiculous. That's obviously ridiculous. And so I said, alright, I don't know the person too well, so I just sort of went, alright, I've heard you. He left. I turned to the guy I was talking to. I said, you wouldn't just apologise, would you? And he goes, yeah, I'd apologise, all this and that, blah, 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 best way to do it, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, a woman joins the conversation. So why aren't we going to ask the woman? I said, if you and so-and-so were arguing, and he always apologised to you, always said sorry, what would you think to that? And she responded with disgust. She said, I'd think he was a pussy. And that answered that. Okay, how's he going to dispute the perspective of a woman when asked the direct question as to how she would perceive a man for behaving in that particular manner? We can dispute it, argue it all day as two men, but we would only theoreticize and conceptualize. We weren't going to get the fact. Alright? And it's not that a woman has to, you know, obviously you need to know the woman well to get a straight answer. People don't want to hurt no one's feelings, right, by saying the wrong thing, but women love to talk about relationship difficulties and issues and that, given it's possible to do so. Women are more direct than men for the most part, because they know what they want a little more so. It's unbelievable. So I'm going to finish with that. That's a bit of food for thought. If you want to know what's attractive, if you want to know what's repulsive, spend time around more women. I know people dispute the friend zone and this and that. Oh, I've never been in the friend zone, all this and that. It might be worthwhile being in the friend zone for a second so you can pick the brain of somebody who can teach you this game. Alright? Click like and subscribe. I'm signing out. Peace.